Alright, so, in the last video I made, gang stalking, experimentation, drugging, and rape, etc. You can tell I was a little bit off from the covert drugging that they're doing. I've proven it. It's been documented by the people who look into this and who reviewed thousands of cases. There's numbers and estimates of as much as 300,000 Americans are victims of covert harassment, electronic harassment of this experimentation and technologies of control. And the Kangaroo Congress does not do a thing about it. They made a superficial committee to look into this, and I forgot what it's called, but basically they didn't listen to the testimony of several doctors and hundreds of people. In fact, they told them not to come to the next meeting. So I finished the book. I finished the book early this morning. The day after I got it in the morning, I finished less than 24 hours after I received the book. It's red. As you can see, I do my research. I do my due diligence. Let's see. So of the second half of the book, I only have one bookmark that is extremely important, and it has to do with Robert Lifton. I believe this was the doctor from the guy who wrote Nazi Doctors. Yes, he is Robert J. Lifton. I'm pretty sure it's the same Robert. He's an American psychiatrist. Wow. So the same people who are behind MKUltra are exposing it and kind of confusing you about who's really doing it. They're sort of blaming this Nazi type of group when it's really more of this socialist, liberal, Jewish type of group. Very interesting how that works. At the top of the struggle of the secret societies, there's Nazis, neo-Nazis, there's, white Christians and white atheists and occultists, and they're arguing with a bunch of Jewish, occultists and their allies, which is a lot of them are homosexuals and so on and so forth. Feminists and things of this nature. People who attack the church. So here we go. This is page 142. As a matter of fact, after Hearst was arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department, the doctors that were called in to evaluate her were Dr. Martin Orne, Robert Lifton, and Dr. Joel Loyne West. Orne and West were known MKUltra subcontractors, and Lifton was the founder of the CIA-contracted Human Ecology Fund, a known front company for MKUltra research. So, like I've pointed out time and time again, there's controlled opposition here. There are people who say, well, this is going on, and this is what we need to, to address it. And they'll say things like, we need socialism to address it. We need to redistribute the wealth. And I disagree with John Hall on a few points. One is I do believe you need to redistribute the wealth of the wealthy, the super wealthy. Their wealth is their power, and they're going to always find ways to leverage that to gain control. I'm not a socialist or a communist, but I believe that there should be a cap, a limit to how much money someone should have. I don't believe in welfare. I believe in helping people get jobs and making jobs readily available for them. So I don't agree with a welfare state and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely not, these modern socialists and what have you. I also don't like the fact that he makes it seem like there's, the police aren't really in on this. The police are in on this, okay? The reason why you can't get help from them is not only because they can't help you, it's because almost all of them are corrupt. We are constantly bombarded with the media with people saying, well, only maybe 1% or 2% of police are corrupt. In the Code of Silence documentary, they said the same percentage of criminals in society exist in the police department. Well, I would argue that there's a higher percentage of criminals in law enforcement than there are in society. And this is very hard to prove, especially since they are the people who bust people, So, just my research, just seeing how they treated me, just seeing how they turn a blind eye. I've had cops come here and say, that they don't believe that anyone should have a gun except for the police. You know, I've been at a psych ward where they told me, you know, the nurse there said the same thing. And it's this constant message. The government message is being repeated to me by mental health and law enforcement. They're saying nobody should have a gun. I said, well, what happens if they break into your apartment? They said, well, there's studies that show that, you know, when they break into your apartment, that, you know, the people who break in are more likely to use your weapons against you than for you to defend yourself. I'm like, you know, I'm not going to argue with this fucking idiot, you know, this dumb lady who said that. Make a long story short, even if that was the case, which I assure you it's not, you know, I'm sure it happens sometimes, but it's, you know, I'm sure the people who did it were a bunch of socialist, you know, quote unquote progressive trash, and they have no idea about what the truth is, and they're presenting a very biased study. But the answer is very simple. It's strategy and gun training. Familiarize yourself with a gun, put it in a place that makes sense, have a you know, home security system so you have a warning before you have to address the threat, you know, so you're armed, and when they come through the door, boom, you know, I mean, it's a walk in the fucking park. And their answer is to take your guns away. You know, someone brought to my attention today that if you get a temporary restraining order on someone, they lose their gun rights in the state of California. I didn't know that. They have all these horrible little ways to take your gun rights. Mental health, you go to the psych ward, you argue with your wife or your parents, you go to the psych ward, you lose your gun rights for 5 years. And you have to go to court to get them back. You don't automatically get them back. And most people that try to get them back, from my understanding, do not get them back. I mean, just especially with this huge, we all seen the news, this huge push for gun control and these complete sellout demons who support it. And the quote-unquote victims' families who are obviously paid or brainwashed into joining these groups or coerced. And they say, oh, you know, we need to disarm everyone. I could tell you for sure that growing up, hanging out with gang members and such, you know, their dream is for gun control. So they can have a place like Chicago where gang members run rampant and completely run the whole city pretty much, and they're not afraid to do home invasions and to rape people and etc., because they, you know, have no worry about someone with a gun. Gangs are predators who want to find somebody walking without a gun so they can come up close to them and shoot them dead, you know, or rob them, or kidnap your daughters and your wives and your mothers and rape them. Okay, these are the type of people they are. You know, anyone who says otherwise is an idiot. I grew up in California. I grew up hanging out with the most notorious gang members in the country. The Crips, the Norteños, you know, a passing familiarity with, you know, a passing understanding of Serenos. You know, a lot of the Bloods in Northern California were my, you know, acquaintances, and some of them were my friends. Okay, gang members rape and kill people and sell drugs to kids. They're bad people. And if they think that you don't have a gun, they are going to walk all over you. Period. The government, the same thing. You know, they're going to walk all over you if they think you can't do very much to protect yourself. Period. Period. I know this. I am a targeted individual, okay? These people, you know, because they've taken away my gun rights, are far more bold than if they hadn't. You know, as it is, they fear me enough to give me distance and respect when I'm at home. You know, they have to do covert little shit from far away. You know, the only exception might be my neighbors who, you know, they know they're in a position where I can't 100% say, you're fucking with me, I'm going to make you pay for it. You know, and they know that they're walking a thin line. The moment that they cross the line, they're fucking dead. So, with that being said, this gun control movement is just complete trash. You know, communist Stalin said, you know, if it's not a direct quote, but it's in the book. He said, you know, it'd be nice if the opposition disarms. If not, we will disarm them. You know, it's a power play. And you people truly don't understand how this works. It's the people in charge. What the left and right have in common. And some people might think that the right, because this guy's definitely a right wing, definitely pointing the finger at the left, but he also somewhat touches on things that imply that the right sold you out as well. I believe the people who voted for the continuation of some act, or, you know, some Patriot Act or something, it was mostly Republicans that he brings up in the book. It was almost twice as many Republicans that voted for it than Democrats. But at the same time, the Democrats, their stated agenda is more evil. Their stated philosophy is more evil than the Republicans' stated philosophy. Democrats openly say we want abortion, we want gay rights, we want, you know, it's very satanic. The Democrats are more openly satanic, you know, and what they're saying doesn't make sense. The donkey truly expresses the Democratic Party. They're a bunch of jackasses, okay? They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're idiots, and they're a bunch of baby killing scum. Why they're killing? They're killing people because they're idiots, because they make a lot of noise and they're dumbasses. And the elephant, you know, works with the Republican Party because the type of change that we need, they're slow to bring it, if at all. But also they have that power. You know, these are the tougher party. A lot of Democrats are sissies, effeminate men, and so on and so forth. A lot of Republicans tend to be tougher people. You know, some of them are, you know, these kind of rednecks who, you know, are tough from hard work and they know how to shoot and so on and so forth. So there is certain parallels you can draw there between elephants and Republicans. And they're also more of a noble creature and more of a respected creature. You know, for example, Shaka Zulu was called the Great Sageti, the Great Elephant, and so on. So, you know, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I've never been either party in my entire life. I voted for Democrats. I voted for Obama. I know. For you people saying anything, I know. And you can imagine why I voted for him. I wanted to see a black president. I knew he wasn't perfect. I wanted to see a black president. I figured that he might have black people's interests in mind. I don't call me fucking crazy for thinking that he might consider black people's interests, you know. Anyway. Also, I'd like to say the Kangaroo Congress is a fucking joke, and you occultists, especially on Halloween, stay the fuck away from me. Sick fucking bastards. You know? I think that's about it. I think I can wrap it out there, you know. I did a pretty good job. Another book under my belt, you know. Now it's floating. After a while, it's just going to be another book floating around my head, and I'm going to just, you know, have trouble remembering what it said. You know, I'm not perfect, but, you know, it really hit me when I read that about lifting. I was like, wow, you know, wow. Because I started off coming at it from the Nazi perspective. I saw strong elements of Nazism. So I didn't call the people in charge Nazis. I said they're Nazi sympathizers. Why? Because they have similar sentiments. They have similar philosophies. So I said they share the same sentiments and philosophies that the Nazis do. I believe that's in Psychiatry is a Fraud, Part 1, or Psychiatry, something, the Psychiatry series on Robot, the Part 1. You know, because they, you know, believe in eugenics. They believe that they're some kind of chosen people, that they have the right to, you know, determine how society is, and their social planning, and, you know, there's a lot of elements of this kind of corporate fascist, you know, kind of chosen people philosophy that, you know, and it became more and more apparent to me as I started describing it more specifically, that it is this fight between these two people who are both into the occult. It's like saying, well, the people in charge are football players, you know, and you say, well, no, they're the Niners. They're not the Raiders. They're the Niners. They're the Niners. I'm like, okay, look, I'm not saying whether they're the Niners or the Raiders. I'm saying that they're football players. You know what I'm saying? It's like saying that. Of course, obviously, they're not football players. You get what I'm saying. So, you know, the people in charge are Nazi sympathizers, you know, no matter how you look at it, even if you want to say that it's completely the Jews. When there's this kind of battle between the whites and the Jews have a little bit of an advantage. But remember, the whites have royal families of many countries, and no, they're not all Jews. And even if they are, they don't all see themselves that way. So, and the royal families have a lot of power. So do the popes. It's not just the fucking Jewish bankers who completely run the show. There's somewhat of a balance of power in the occult world, and neither of them are 100% satisfied with it, and they kind of vie for power. And on the top level, there's sort of agreements that are made as to how to bring in the new world order, you know, on the very top level. But a little bit below that and all the way down, there's major disagreements. And of course, they both try to say, oh, it's all these people. And the other side says, it's all these people. It's a bunch of Nazi white people. And then they say, well, it's a bunch of Jewish, Zionist, Talmud, motherfucking Kabbalah bitches. You know, well, I'm out of time. Hope you understand what's going on. And I hope you understand why I'm right. And I hope you understand how serious this is and how evil they are.